Hello and welcome to Miles Ahead with me, Miles.
And me, Bradley. So before we delve into our main topics, let's quickly chat about what we've been watching recently.
So yeah, we started last series of Stranger Things. Only one episode at the moment, but we're hoping to see more within the week. And we've also got into the UK Traitors. Now we weren't particularly watching it before. There was a celebrity version that we watched, and I think most people watched as well who haven't watched the main show.
Yeah, I
because
think it was
it's
the highest
celebrity
watched
special.
thing last year in
And
the
so
UK.
yeah, we're giving the main series a go, I guess you could say. And so far we've enjoyed it.
It's quite captivating. Got a lot of the same sort of notes, but feels very different because obviously they're actually playing for money that could change their lives, as opposed to celebrities sort of not necessarily not taking it seriously, but not maybe taking it as seriously enough as sort of the main version, because they're playing for charity, and they know that whatever money that they got to maybe be casted is probably going to be donated.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's sort of a win-win in that case. But yeah, so obviously there is a big twist in the UK Traitors. I think it's in the US Traitors as well. What did you think? I thought it ended a bit too early.
Yeah, it was probably a bit too early than they probably planned it. But
Yeah.
I guess that's the way the game goes.
Yeah. It's pretty shocking twist at the end of this week's episode, so the week of the 11th. Let's move on to our third segment of today, which is all about nostalgia. Is it a good thing, Miles?
Is it a good thing? That's an interesting question, because lately we've seen a lot of nostalgic things coming back, or characters, I guess you could say. So especially in TV and films, you've got Doctor Who's a big recent example with David Tennant coming back.
Yeah, Catherine
not
Tate,
long ago. Catherine Tate, maybe Billie Piper. We're not sure about that.
Well,
We've
I'm
also
pretty
got.
sure it's going to be in a festive special this year.
Well, we'll see. We've also got some sequels for films that are at least probably 20 years old, maybe about that age range.
Within that range, yeah.
Got Devil's Wears Prada 2, which, to be fair, I've never seen the original, but from what I don't know how a sequel would work, but that's from someone who hasn't seen the original. Meet the Family 4, I believe.
Yeah.
That's probably not its actual name. I think it has got a title, but I can't remember it. Something like that,
sure.
Which will be interesting. Yeah, it must be over 10 years now since the last one.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. We got Toy Story 5, which if you haven't heard our previous episode, please have a listen, because we did sort of talk about our opinions on that. We got Social Network 2, which
could be interesting.
Yeah, so this is, for context, this was the Facebook biopic, or the Mark Zuckerberg biopic with Jesse Eisenberg, who I believe isn't in this one. I think it's someone else, if I remember correctly. And so a couple more. We got The Return of Scary Movie, which is, I've never seen any of them, but I know it's been a long wait since the last one, so could be interesting. And we got the sequel to Ready or Not.
Pretty much every studios now are bringing back some either character movie after so many years. Obviously we got Marvel bringing back Robert Downey Jr., but in a different role technically. We've also got Chris Evans potentially being Captain America again. I don't know how that would work, but it seems like they're banking on the familiarity.
Yeah, I definitely agree, especially recently, because you could even go to like the Disney live action remakes. Because a lot of those films aren't necessarily that old, but especially in more recent years when they've announced the Tangled one, which is not that old, and obviously got the live action remake to Moana, which is like probably 7 years old, which is very young.
But like stuff like Lilo and Stitch, that was quite a few years in between.
But at the same time, there's still, most of them are already very popular.
Yeah.
And you could say it was a good idea to remake them in some, well, maybe not a great idea, but in terms of capturing the nostalgia and the magic they had before, it made sense.
Yeah.
However, I think they went around it the wrong way, and I think they suffered a little bit, especially in the last couple, apart from maybe Lilo and Stitch. But the Snow White and the Little Mermaid didn't do as well, because I think those two in particular strayed, or at least in Snow White's case, it's strayed so far off the original film.
Yeah.
And there's also the actress's remarks, which we're not going to get into because that could be a thing in itself.
Another thing.
Yeah, but I guess in terms of this nostalgia wave we seem to be in, where do you think it started?
There's so many sort of different things. I think the epicenter has to be sort of Disney bringing it back, or sort of remaking a lot of their older sort of things. Not necessarily old, but as we said, like Lilo and Stitch, it's not a particularly old film, but bringing it back to sort of the live action and sort of bringing it back. It's not completely the same film, but it is more or less the same film. But yeah, I mean, it's everywhere, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint where it came from first. But is it a good thing? Is it a good thing that we're, I mean, let's take Doctor Who, for example. David Tennant came back after arguably not a long time after he appeared in the 50th anniversary, which was in 2013.
Yes.
And him coming back with Catherine Tate for the 60th, I don't know. Was that a good choice? Does that kill the mood? Because obviously now Doctor Who's in a weird position at the minute.
Yeah, I think, just to quickly go over Doctor Who, I mean, Doctor Who's brought past actors back before, especially like anniversary stories and stuff, where it's mainly set. So it wasn't like that.
No, I mean, it wasn't
out of left field. However, I think what probably tarnished it was making it a brand new Doctor who is technically the same Doctor, just older.
Yeah, isn't David Tennant
and it doesn't really doesn't make any sense. And I think if you've seen a lot of things about why the recent Disney Doctor Who era, if you want to call it that, failed, was because they started with Tennant, which then overshadowed, because a lot of those plot points were carried over to the main series with Ncuti Gatwa, and that kind of made his thing doomed from the start. And I think that's what really damaged, and especially now, as you said, with the weird position of possibly having Billy Piper and David Tennant in the Christmas special that's confirmed for this year, or at least the end of the year, but we don't know because nothing's been confirmed about it apart from it's happening, and Russell T's doing it again, which I think is a bit of a risky move, but I guess for what they've got, it's probably the best move they have. And I hope it's his last story, because I don't think the show would do well if he continues.
No, I mean, in the 20 years or more since he's taken over, it hasn't. I mean, we've only seen 2 other guys do it. We haven't seen any other voices sort of in the realm and taken over. So it'd be nice to see someone or something different from the show, because it's technically been the same since 2005. I mean, 2005 was a completely changed Doctor Who in the way that it was made, and the way that they brought back all the characters was really good. But now it seems like they've brought back, and it's just like, you remember this guy? No? Watch this. This is really good.
I think, to harken back to a question you asked earlier about if it's a good thing, I think it's sort of a two-sided question, not two-sided question, but a two-sided answer, because yes, it can work if it's done well.
Yeah, like Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, like Lilo and Stitch, or even like something like Cobra Kai, which was a sequel series to the original Karate Kids, although now the other remakes in that realm as well. But it doesn't matter about that. It's a remake of the original 3 films, and I think it respects what was come before. A lot, they have recreate a lot of the sets that look around that time. A lot of the original cast comes back.
Yeah,
and it respects what happened, and it tells a completely new story within that sort of world universe, if you want to call it that. And I think that's a good example. What I think, but when it's bad, it feels a bit of a cash grab. I think we can point to what we've been saying about Marvel with Robert Downey Jr. coming back and all that. And I guess to some extent the Star Wars sequel trilogy, where it brought the original trio back just to die.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, it depends how the nostalgia was used. So I think, looking forward to Avengers Doomsday, where obviously Robert Downey Jr. is back in a different role technically, but it's still nostalgia because it's someone that's been brought back because they're popular and they can't, and maybe necessarily they can't see a way forward without him. Maybe.
I don't know if that's the case. I think I won't go into everything, but basically, Marvel did have a plan for Kang, who was in a couple of projects before, played by Jonathan Majors, and then his how can I say it? Stuff. Yeah, he had some. He's done some naughty things, and basically they sort of last chance saloon kind of thing. Robert Downey Jr., which, to be fair to them, isn't actually an awful idea because they know whatever happens.
Yeah.
However, this is sort of Marvel's plans were getting a bit like they were starting to sort of connect it, and then this happened, and now they're sort of in this limbo of don't know what to do. And they're very loosely hinted to what Doomsday might become, but they haven't really. So Doomsday is technically its own thing. It's not like the last couple of Marvel films where it bridged the gap into this Infinity Saga with Thanos and the Infinity Stones. This is a completely separate thing that vaguely has hints to the last couple Marvel movies released, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wary. Is this nostalgia baiting by bringing Chris Evans back, Robert Downey Jr. back, other characters that have technically left back?
I think, as I said before, it depends how it's done.
Yeah.
Because let's say if they don't have they're just there because they're there, then yeah. But if they've got a story point to the film, then I think it could go well for them.
Right, before we continue, it's time for some trivia. So, our first question is, which actor recommended Hugh Jackman for the role of Wolverine, launching him into stardom? Have a think about that, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now let's dig a bit deeper. Are we actively chasing nostalgia at this point?
Are we chasing it? I think to some degree, yes, because there's a lot of stuff that, or at least a lot of films out are sort of revisiting the comfort stories we had as kids, and especially in that terms of the Disney remakes, it's a lot of I grew up, I watched this as the original as a kid or whatever. So I think to some extent, but at the same time, I think people are sort of fed up with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good when someone like Disney does it, especially because, I'm going to go back to Lilo and Stitch. They've remade it, and obviously for the sort of adults, young adults, it's full of nostalgia, right? But for kids, children who are obviously born sort of when it came out, a bit after it came out to sort of now, it's sort of, they might have watched the original, but for them, this is new. So I guess we are sort of chasing it because we're maybe recycling ideas, or studios recycling ideas to put a fresh spin on something that came out when younger Gen Zs, Gen Alphas were sort of kids, sort of not born yet, stuff like that. So I don't think we're chasing nostalgia, but I think when something comes out in cinema and you were a kid during that era, it's definitely nostalgia. Like Minions, for example. Do we need another Minions film? Obviously that came out when we were...
I wouldn't say Minions are necessarily nostalgic, though.
No, but Despicable Me Minions came out when we were younger. And we're now adults, and they're still making films, and it's still really, really popular. So obviously it's got that nostalgic taste to it, but it's not necessarily nostalgia baiting in that sense.
I think that's quite a bad example to use, because I sort of get what you're saying, but it's a different when it's a mascot for kids. And because let's say you had a good example in Stitch, because Stitch is sort of, he's as bankable as Mickey Mouse himself. He's the the secondary Disney mascot.
Yeah.
And kids, no matter if they've never seen Lilo and Stitch, know who he is automatically. I might buy a Stitch bag or a Stitch t-shirt or a Stitch hat. And I think the fact they did a remake and this is probably why it did so well, is because Stitch has been marketable pretty much since the film came out.
Yeah.
And with Minions, I wouldn't say, because it's not really on that level.
No, it's
Is it
not
a
on that
mascot
level,
for
but-
kids? Yes, I think Minions are a good mascot for kids. It's probably why they keep doing Despicable Me films and Minion films, which they don't probably need to do.
No,
But-
it's just like the studios have not necessarily given up with new ideas, but haven't
Yeah.
got new ideas, so they're having to just recycle things that came out.
Well, I don't know if I'd say then. I don't know if it's saying they don't have it. I think it's more they're afraid because they know. This is sort of the big argument with nostalgia. It's like, what would you do if you're business? Would you go for something new and risky that could alienate your audience already, or just go for something that has been out, has proven successful, is still marketable to this day, and if they do a new thing in that kind of realm, it will probably make just as much money as it did before.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
think
do you think
that's sort of the problem with chasing nostalgia, as you can say, because
Yeah.
it's sort of milking the cow kind of thing. It's like it will run dry eventually. And I think we're starting to see that happen.
do you think this sort of epidemic of nostalgia has been sort of led by streaming? Because obviously pre-streaming we did have nostalgic films, TV shows that came out, but they weren't as frequent as they are now, let's say. Because obviously with streaming it's so easily accessible. You can watch the original, a remake, and if there is another remake, you can watch that as well on the same platform. Do you think
Yes,
streaming
no.
has a part?
I think yes and no. I think we sort of the nostalgia wave we're seeing. I think you're right. It was in the live action remakes, and everyone now or every animation studio is sort of doing a live action remake. So DreamWorks recently did How to Train Your Dragon, which is getting a sequel. In terms of streaming, I don't know. I think if we're sort of saying the return, the popularity of something like Bean Babies or something like 80s related, that was Stranger Things, because I think Stranger Things, when that came out, was in the 80s, and it sort of brought that nostalgia back.
Yeah, I think in a real sense, yeah.
And I think because there was a lot of things that are popular in the 80s or set in the 80s that did well because of the show or was featured in the show. But if you remember the Kate Bush song "Running Up That Hill" was the most streamed while the series 4 of Stranger Things was out. And I mean, let's just say this isn't just film and TV. This is based on, because video games have done a lot of remaking games. So let's say The Last of Us is about 3 remakes, and they're not even that old. I mean, even something like Lego has re-released stuff they did back in the 80s. Admittedly, they're more for anniversary purposes and not just chasing the nostalgia. But it's sort of old, that kind of chasing nostalgia is still popular.
Yeah.
And I think if more and more TV shows or films sort of trend into that, it will probably do well up until a point.
Yeah.
And I think it's just when that point is difficult to tell. So in answering, are we chasing it? Yes. Are we actively chasing it? No, not really.
No, I think it's sort of not forced necessarily, but it's being led by the streaming services. So obviously, let's take an example like Harry Potter, which the films came out 20, 30 years ago at this point. There's now on HBO going to be a series. Was that necessary? Because obviously the films still hold up massively, and there's still loads of merchandise and stuff like that. And obviously you can go to the Harry Potter world, and at Universal Studios they've got the Harry Potter studio tour here in the UK. I mean, is it just studios was going, oh well, we might as well remake it because we know that was popular and this is going to be popular? Or I think it goes back to, okay, we're not too sure what to do now. There's a bit of a gap, especially I think since the pandemic, people have gone, I'm not sure what to do here.
I think just harking on that sort of franchise kind of idea is it's sort of, I guess, harking back to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Would it still be as, I guess, popular now if Disney didn't buy it and we sort of did their sequel trilogy and have the shows? I mean, obviously there was the Clone Wars before that,
Yeah.
But that was it, there probably wasn't going to be any animated spin-offs other than that. It might have been another. I mean, I know there was still actively like the books and the games in the 90s that still made it marketable after the films ended, and then obviously the prequels came. And I think it's the same with Harry Potter, because Harry Potter is based on those books.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I think, I agree. It was still popular. There's, as we said, there's the World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios. There's the Harry Potter Studio Tour. I think up to the point, because they already tried to bring it back to the Fantastic Beast, making it sort of like. But I think the problem with that was, I think they had an idea there. I just don't think they used it in the right type of film or type of. They didn't have the right type of characters for that story to really comment. And maybe if they kept going, it might have made sense. But they had 3 films already, and you still didn't really know what was happening.
And I think they had quite a lot of issues with actors as well. I think because obviously they had to change Grindelwald.
Yes, but that was mainly because of the Johnny Depp scenario.
And obviously the Edward Miller not as popular figure anymore.
Yeah, but that, to be fair, that came out long after that.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. It did sort of start around that time as well.
Yeah.
And I guess making a series based on the books, like the films. I mean, I think the films are fairly, they follow the books fairly well. There might be some scenes or some important bits they do leave out, which either work or don't work for the film's sake. And I think doing maybe a series sort of maybe adding those things in. So let's say there's one, Peeves the Poltergeist, a character in I can't remember if he's in every book, but he's definitely in the early ones. Like sort of a bit of a troublemaker who in the films was originally going to be played by Rick Mayall, who I don't know what happened, but his scenes got taken cut, and they said they were going to release it, like his deleted scenes, but they never have. So it's like adding that character or stuff they didn't do in the books, from the books that they didn't put in the films. And I guess to that degree, but I guess then it leads to, I guess it still leads to that point of, do we really need this?
Yeah.
And I guess time will tell when the series comes out. But we'll have to see.
I think to answer the question, are we chasing nostalgia? I think studios are definitely trying to go in the direction of that. Whether we want it is a different story, but at the end of the day, a large proportion of people will still watch it, because for a proportion of people it will be new. Like Meet the Fockers, for example, or Meet the Family, whatever, Meet the Parents. That saga, obviously that came out 20, 30, 40 years ago, I think. 40 years ago, is that too long? Anyway,
I think that's a bit too long.
20, 30 years ago. They're making another film. Is that like, do you want it? Not really.
Yeah, I think with that one, the audience have sort of moved on, and the actors is like Ben Stiller, he's sort of, I know he's sort of dipped in and out of acting in a few times, but there's also, he's gone more into like Severance, where he's directing and writing and producing that show. And it's like sort of, he's going back to that. I mean, it might be a one-off, but, he's sort of going to another career field.
Yeah.
And I guess the others as well, sort of moving. So like Robert De Niro, would he come back? I mean, I guess you could say he's sort of not controversial, but he's been very, how can I put this without trying to make us go into trouble? It's sort of, he's very opinionated on a certain ideal of America. And whether he's right or not is up to you. But it's like sort of, he's alienated, I guess to a degree, he's alienated a lot of fans he had. Because, Robert De Niro has been going since, I don't know, the 70s, maybe even earlier. So, he's big in his field. And he's still a big name. It's just, if that goes, would it be as popular as it did back in the 90s or the 2000s? I don't know.
So, speaking of Meet the Parents, Miles, time for another trivia question.
Oh, another trivia question. What's the trivia question? I'm still thinking of the last one.
The question is, why does Greg Fokker get kicked off the plane in Meet the Parents?
Oh, okay. I do remember that, actually.
Well, you'll find out the answer at the end.
Okay, now on to our final segment, which we talked a little bit about in our previous two, but they're mainly about sequels. And we want to answer: are they a good thing? Now, I guess, Brad, do you want to talk about what I mean by sequels?
Obviously, we've got. So to give you examples, obviously we have Shrek 5, Toy Story 5. We've got the Simpsons movie 2 coming out next year, I think, unless they delay it again. There's talks of a Stranger Things spin-off. There's a lot of stuff, really. And what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, Social Network 2, etc., etc. Some of them have been 10, 20, 30 years since the original movie. Yeah, I mean, it's a long gap.
Yeah, I agree. It's a long gap for a lot of them. I think it's interesting because I think the Simpsons movie 2 is an interesting one because, yes, it's a long gap, but technically it's not like the Simpsons hasn't been going on since then. Because
obviously the TV
their TV shows
are
like what,
going on. But
40 years, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. It's been 10 years since the original Simpsons movie, though.
Yeah. And I think this could be interesting because I think a lot of people predicted it might be like they're sort of capping off the Simpsons. As in, like, because when they did the first one, you know, they were going into series 19 or whatever. Or something like that. Which, you know, is quite long for a TV show, especially an animated one. And, you know, I think that was a lot of people's sort of, I guess, last memories of the Simpsons. Because I think, I mean, you probably heard a lot about the golden age and how it's dropped off since then, kind of.
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
And I think this was sort of a lot of people's last hurrah. And now there's another one, and people are like, I wonder what the Simpsons have been doing since. So it might get people to rewatch it again in the lead up to the movie, or
I mean, I
just be excited for the movie coming out because I wasn't expecting it when it was announced. I thought because you know they joked about a sequel pretty much since the first one ended.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
And
I
crazy.
I think a lot of people have maybe forgotten that the Simpsons is still a thing. Obviously, we have things like Lego sets, merchandise that have obviously come out, and obviously it's in.
Yeah, there's still a moment in that department.
But I don't think a lot of people necessarily, because obviously repeats of the show are always on TV, like always, all year round, all the time. And I don't think, I mean, obviously there's been clips as well online that you can watch, but I don't think people have necessarily realised that The Simpsons is actually still going at this point. So, I mean, do we need a sequel to The Simpsons movie when the TV series is still on? Maybe it'll get people to realise that that is still actually running.
That's what I was sort of saying. It might get people to watch it again.
But do we need one?
Do we need one? Sure. I don't know. I think it depends on what story. Because again, if it's sort of like this is the sort of the end of The Simpsons, then yeah. But I think it's like they're going to do another 2 seasons afterwards because they get announced 2 in a row or whatever. Then I don't really get it.
Yeah. I mean, Shrek. I mean, obviously, it's been a while since Shrek 4 came out. Shrek 5 could be interesting. I don't think we need a Shrek 5, if I'm being honest.
No, I think, I agree. Shrek 4 sort of, it capped the story off quite well. Is it the best Shrek movie? That's up for debate, but you know, it wrapped up well.
Yeah.
And you know, there was the Puss in Boots sequel that came out, must have been again 10 years after the first. And I mean that did well, that was a pretty good film. But again, that's that Puss in Boots stuff, like film.
Yeah.
Based on a side character from the Shrek films. And you know, and yeah, if you know the post credits, then they have a little connection to the Shrek, but that's about it.
I mean, I don't personally think it's necessary.
It's not, but I can see because Shrek's been popular pretty much since the movies ended. Admittedly, not for the best reasons.
It's still popular, but do we need another film? A special one or possible, like a Christmas or Easter.
Well, they have done those.
Yeah, but like another one now because it's still popular, rather than another film continuing the four that we had, 10 years ago? More than that? 20 years ago?
I think
I don't know.
because all these could be answered with it depends how the story goes. Because if there's an actual genuine story they could tell,
Yeah.
then it could, work very well. But if they're just there because they're popular, it's sort of just, it's like, do we really need it? Did we really need it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess going on about, let's talk about TV shows, because obviously, I mean, when we talk about sequels with TV shows, I mean, obviously TV shows go on season by season, series by series. A spin-off would be technically a sequel. So obviously Doctor Who had things like Sarah Jane
Well,
Smith,
no, not
Adventures.
necessarily. Not necessarily. A spin-off's a spin-off. Yes, sometimes they are sequels.
Yeah.
As we mentioned in our previous episode, Peaky Blinders is going to get a sequel series based after whatever happens in the film. And I guess The Office recently had one must have been 10 years after the series ended. And, that's still being popular. And I guess...
Yeah, I mean,
there's only one series out with another series on the way. So, it has potential to be as long as or as good as The Office. It just depends how they go with it.
I think the paper is good. I just think they're missing something to make it click.
Yeah, and maybe that.
And
I think maybe that will, click within series 2. Maybe not.
Yeah, I would say that The Office season 1, because most of it was largely recycling episodes from the UK Office, especially the first couple of episodes. I think season 1 didn't really get off until the latter episodes. So I think if this could follow the same sort of thing, as in it's not going to click until we get to season 2, potentially more. But yeah, I think it has potential.
Yeah, it does, and it's the same person who wrote The Office US. Right. So it's like it's in a capable hand. So it's not like some people like corporate things like, oh, we want this and we want this because it was popular. Yeah. It's by the same guy who did The Office, or at least the US version. So I wouldn't be surprised if it gets better with each season, or it gets cancelled after the second. Who knows? But I think there's a lot of danger doing something like that. As we mentioned, the spin-off for Stranger Things, the new spin-off.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much information about it apart from it's meant to be set in the 90s and in London. I think that's pretty much all information that we know at the moment.
Fair enough. And we've also just one that I've thought of in my head, the upcoming Buffy reboot.
Oh, yeah.
Which, again, is a sequel because, or at least Buffy's the only confirmed OG character coming back. But, it's got a sort of new set of characters. Buffy's there, and that's all we pretty much know about it.
Yeah, I think sequels are a good... I mean, as we've said throughout the episode, it is a good thing. It just depends how it does it. So something like The Office, obviously the spin-off being, or the sequel being the paper, the US version, I would say more than the UK version. But I think people are so used to watching the original Office, and obviously it's recently had a big sort of uptake and people watching it maybe for the first time or rewatching it because it's on Netflix, I think. So people can just go in and rewatch it. And I think people are so used to that being, that's The Office, not having realised that there's a UK version. But I think that might tarnish the reputation of the paper as well. I think in general, sequels are a good thing if done correctly and for the right reasons.
If done correctly, they can be great. But I think, especially when we talk about sort of nostalgic sequels,
like Shrek 5, I don't think we need a Shrek 5. It kind of.
I think they're great. They're great. If there's a story reason for it that they found and no one else just thought of, then if it's sort of done because it was popular and it will still be popular, then it's sort of a commercial game. Because I guess if you remember the Shrek 5 teaser, sorry, my voice just went there. The Shrek 5 teaser, and it was sort of explaining that, because Shrek's so, popular in a very indecent way. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And it looked like the film was gonna delve into that, and now it looks like the film's got delayed again. It might have changed a little bit. It might not have. There's also another one I'm thinking of as well. Spaceballs 2.
Hmm.
Now, Spaceballs is a parody, so this will probably make, and it looks like it's going to make fun of those type of remakes, sequels, sort of what we've been talking about in this
Yeah.
episode. And we saw the first one not long ago,
Hmm.
and it's like the same. Do we really need another one? No. Did it cap off to that? No.
No.
But will we see it? Probably.
Yeah. I think to summarize our main question, which is nostalgia good? Nostalgia can be good if used in the right way for the right reasons. I would say if it's not used in the right way or the right reason, then it could hamper or tarnish it. So obviously we talked about The Office in the paper. Another example could be obviously the Harry Potter movies and the Harry Potter season not doing as well as the movie. I mean, there's already a lot of people.
And he's Australian and, well, was musical.
Yeah, I mean, before I give the answers, let's do our second question, which was, why did Greg Fokker get kicked off a plane in Meet the Parents?
Well, I do remember what he says. It was bomb.
Yeah, he refused to not to say the word bomb or something like that to that description.
Yeah, and then something like that.
Are you ready for the answer, Miles?
Well, yeah.
So, question 1. So you said, was it Russell Crowe? And I said Jason Donovan.
You did.
Well, the answer, which I have up here, is Russell Crowe.
So it was Russell Crowe. Okay.
Well done. That is 1 point to you. Question 2. He refuses to stop saying the word bomb.
Which we both got.
Which we both said. So that's 2 for you and 1 for me. Let us know how you did at home.
Yes.
Did you know the answers?
Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Miles Ahead.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at milesahead.pod for all the latest update and behind the scenes content.
And we'll catch you next time.